Hello there. We talked about this before. 3 years after Brexit, polls suggest a growing number of Britons believe leaving the EU was a mistake and want close ties to the continent again. According to experts, the issue remains risky for the two largest parties, that's the ruling Conservatives and the strongest opposition force, Labour, which failed to find a common line on the Brexit issue around the time of the 2016 EU referendum and whose electorate was also divided on this matter. In the case of the Conservatives, who ultimately conducted an extremely successful election campaign in the wake of Brexit in 2019 and continued to promote leaving the EU as a great opportunity, well, political scientist Paul Webb sees the danger of being caught in a kind of pincer movement. On the one hand, if the party tries to bring the issue back to the fore in the general election expected in 2024, it could potentially face a majority of voters who now think that Brexit was a mistake and never should have happened, and for which they hold the Conservatives primarily responsible. At the same time, however, they could also feel pressure from a smaller group of right-wing voters who feel that Brexit has not been implemented properly and should have been a total no-deal Brexit or something like that. That's what the expert said in a conversation with the APA. He's from the University of Sussex. The EU exit question has noticeably shaped and changed the ruling party in recent years. Brexit divided the Conservatives so much that people who didn't want to accept it either left the party of their own free will or lost nominations or seats, and that included quite a lot of talented people. The main criterion for selecting cabinet members since 2016 seems to have been their stance on Brexit, said Webb. The nationalist right in the Conservative Party often seems to have set the dynamic here. Whether they actually constitute a majority in the party, in the parliamentary or extra-parliamentary, I'm not sure, but they definitely had some sort of veto power, and Conservative Party leaders from Theresa May onward seem to have feared them, given they want to put it that way. And according to Webb, that should probably still be the case today. If the two major parties have a clear concept for the future and the relationship with the EU, they are consciously vague about it at the moment because they don't want to start a fight about it, says the politics professor. The Conservatives are kind of stuck in their current position, and Labour leader Keir Starmer's very, very cautious approach is understandable, even if it does create a degree of frustration among those who are not happy with Brexit. And most Labour supporters are not Brexiteers, says Webb. However, Starmer is clearly concerned about being accused of reopening the whole debate and losing the support of the so-called Red Wall constituencies, which were pro-Labour but switched to the Conservatives mainly because of Brexit. Strategically, from the Labour Party's point of view, the best thing they can do is to put the issue on the back burner, at least for the moment, and let the focus go on the strikes and the mess in the economy, and say that the Conservatives have been in power for 12 years, so it's up to them. Not to do anything that brings up an issue that could also be difficult for the opposition, says Webb, but I really am disappointed here. Roger Mortimer, Professor of Public Opinion and Political Analysis at London's King's College, takes a similar view. From Labour's perspective, the Brexit issue is still one that would almost certainly cost them votes in an election, and they have so many other issues that get them votes that are much safer. That's what he said to the APA. He also points to the Conservative success in 2019 in Northern English constituencies that had been considered Labour strongholds for decades. Labour really needs to win these voters back, and if they don't talk about Brexit, they can win them back, he says. At the moment, Brexit is essentially a dead topic, but they won't be returning to the European Union in the foreseeable future anyway. Neither of the two parties that could form a government supports that. Of course, that could change if you look 20 years into the future. It could be a plausible possibility to seek re-entry again. But that's absolutely not going to happen in the next 10 years, says Mortimer. Webb also doesn't think his country's renewed EU membership in the foreseeable future is realistic, and not just because of the attitude on the British side. If that ever happens, it's at least a decade away, and if UK membership ever comes back, it will be on different terms to what they had before, and I would assume those are worse terms. And there I agree with Webb. You know that I talked about this a lot in my videos. If they ever return, they will return under the same conditions every new member joins, and those terms are definitely worse than what they had when they left, from their point of view. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.